Tell us a little about your career in clinical trials.
I'm a pathologist scientist and I work for CellCarta. CellCarta is a rapidly growing clinical research organization and provides a network footprint for global clinical trials with its laboratories in USA, Belgium, China, and Canada. I work at their Belgium site. I'm also their principal investigator and sub-investigator of some of these trials. From evaluating HEs, hematoxin use in sections, to quantifying biomarkers, providing pathology input for assay development, and also for AI algorithms, to training other pathologists. Working at CellCarta is fulfilling and challenging as well. As far as the second part of your question is concerned, I guess working in a clinical trial space was a perfect culmination of the diagnostic training which I've had during my training as a pathologist while doing my MD, and also the research experience which I gained while doing my PhD in molecular pathology in Belgium. So with working in many different countries and working in different setups, tertiary cancer hospitals, research centers, university hospitals, I thought the clinical trial space provided a perfect platform for using both my diagnostic experience as well as my research experience.
What's unique about working in clinical trials?
Pathologists form a very integral part of the clinical research team, and also the fact that their input is very, very crucial. They make sure that the diagnosis is correct and that the staging is correct as well. Also, the data from pathology parameters, which comes from prognostic and predictive studies, can be used to enroll, stratify, and randomize patients. Also, pathology parameters can be used as primary or secondary outcome measures, either as standalone classifiers or in combination with clinical data. Moreover, recently, we also have the concept of minimal residual disease, or which we call as pathologic complete response, being routinely incorporated into neoadjuvant clinical trials. So I feel that pathologists have a very unique position in which that they can deliver this very important information because they have the expertise to deliver this important information, and also they know the limitations of laboratory testing.
Why don't more pathologists consider careers in clinical trials?
That's a very interesting question. I was speaking actually a couple of weeks earlier to some early career pathologists and trainee pathologists regarding a career in clinical trials, and I was surprised that not many were aware of it. I guess we need to educate and make them aware about a career in clinical trials, and also probably train an entire generation of clinical trial pathologists. That is important. Also, I feel sometimes there is a mindset that working in the clinical trial space is only about research and not about diagnosis. In fact, working in a clinical trial space provides a perfect platform for using both your diagnostic and research skills. We see cancer patients all over the world now living longer lives and also enjoying better quality of life because of the drugs which have been approved after going through these clinical trials. So the eligibility of a patient for a clinical trial, as well as evaluating the therapeutic response, is very important, and it is done by the pathologist. Also, I feel sometimes it could be a question of, delayed gratification. Let's say a surgeon feels happy about his skill that he could help a patient when he does surgery and the patient improves. Or let's say for a cardiologist, when a patient who comes to him has had a near fatal MI and that patient improves after the treatment. Similarly, for a pathologist, this kind of high gets, for a pathologist, this kind of high comes through a very good diagnosis, let's say after a frozen section or after or even after a surgery, so that the surgeon or the medical oncologist can take a proper decision, can make a proper clinical decision about it. So in case of clinical trials, what happens is this can be a little delayed when you realize that, okay, a biomarker which you have been working on is finally approved as a companion diagnostic, or some other indicator which you have been working on is published later as part of a trial. So I think that could also be one of the reasons.
What's your favorite part of your work?
The fact that what I do is crucial and it ultimately impacts patient care is very important to me. I typically work in a clinical trial space which focuses on oncology and immune oncology. And as we enter into an era of precision medicine, we see that cancer therapies are now more individualized depending upon the patient's individual molecular signature. And pathologists have a very, very important and vital part in that. For me, when I go to work or when I am evaluating every single slide, I know that it will help in clinical decision making, or it will help in overall data quality of the cancer research. So I think that is very, very important to me. Also, I like to collaborate and to provide pathology input on AI algorithms, as I feel that we are seeing a paucity of pathologists, not only in the clinical trial space, but otherwise as well. So I feel in the future, AI would be providing a very important tool to a pathologist. So I like to collaborate on that as well.
What is the most unique thing you've experienced in your work?
The most unique thing is also the most challenging. The tissue biomarkers, as we all know, are not only important for scientific research, but also for diagnosing a disease and looking at treatment responses. I see many of these biomarkers in a single day, and each of these biomarkers come with their own scoring strategies, their pitfalls and challenges. Navigating between each of these biomarkers while trying to juggle the scoring strategy in your head and while still maintaining and delivering optimal result on each slide is challenging, but also very unique, I think.
What one key thing would you like to share about what you do?
I think the ever-expanding portfolio of clinical trials will continuously demand more pathologist engagement. So one needs to think out of the box and then to also think about working in a clinical trial space. That's one thing. In a clinical trial space, pathologist works as a part of a team, and you have to communicate very routinely with non-pathologists like surgeons or oncologists, scientists, imaging scientists, or other healthcare providers. So it's very important to communicate and articulate the pathology behind the disease. Also, I guess, since we are a part of a team, it's very important that you have good skills to work in a team and are flexible. Apart from that, I also feel that it's very important that one has to keep abreast of recent advances in molecular medicine or molecular pathology. Now, this can be done by following conferences or following courses or even online modules. It's time that pathologists think out of the box, and it's also time that pathologists come at the forefront of clinical research.